Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Spotlight Games podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Patrick, and I am joined by the flavorous boy, the most flavorsome boy I know, Kamen Darty. How are you, Kamen?
I'm doing wonderful, Patrick. Thank you for calling me flavorful.
Flavorful. I said flavorsome, which I don't believe is a word.
Yeah, it might not be. I just feel like when you call me that, I'm just one step closer to becoming Guy Fieri, which has been my life's goal. So,
Fieri, please. Put
Guy
some respect
Pizza.
on the name, Fieri.
Pizza.
Fair. I love that. We have a great show for you, but before we jump into the show, want to do some housekeeping. We'd love it if you rate and review the podcast. It goes a long way in spreading the word about our little shoe. Ratings and reviews also help spread the word. So we'd appreciate if you do that. If you have a friend that plays games, let them know about our sweet little podcast. And don't forget to email the podcast, mail at spotlightgames.net. Kamen, would you believe we got our first listener letters via email in between this episode or last episode and right now?
Wow. Who emailed us?
They came from Taylor. So we're going to give a shout out 2 episodes in a row to Taylor. This Saturday, we were celebrating your birthday.
We were.
Kamen. And I got these emails, and one of them really made me laugh. One of them was very sweet, but I want to read the one that made me laugh. I'm not going to read the one that I thought was sweet, just in case Taylor doesn't want everything she's ever said online to the millions of listeners we have. She says, "Hi, yes, I'm the wife mentioned in the latest podcast episode. I'm here to claim my half of the $10,000 beefy currency. How would you like to transfer the funds?" Taylor, this is a great segue into our this week's announcement, which is we're starting a GoFundMe to pay you those $10,000. So if you go to gofundme.com/pay Taylor in beef, our listeners can go give us all their hard-earned money to pay you those $10,000.
Can we pay them in like not Little Caesars? Can we pay them in Stevie B's coupons?
Stevie B's, CC's, Little Caesars, just all of the C-tiered pizza restaurants.
Yeah, sorry, yes. We're broke as fuck, and so the best we can do at this point in time is give you pizza coupons.
Correct. But thank you, Taylor, for writing in. I'm glad. I'm excited for you to get this $10,000 one day and to spend it somewhere. I'm not going to assume where you might spend it, but we all know it's going to be at Stevie B's. You can also follow us on Twitter at SpotGamesPod. You can follow us on Instagram at Spotlight Games Podcast. And depending on how this goes right now, you can also now subscribe to YouTube. If you search Spotlight Games on YouTube, we can't make a custom URL because YouTube has rules where you can't do it for a certain amount of time. So one day it'll be youtube.com/Spotlight Games or Spotlight Games Podcast, but that's not today. This day, you can go to our link tree or you can just search it online and subscribe. We'd really love it if you subscribed to the podcast. I would say, 8 weeks straight, Kamen. I think we have what can be described and will be described as a great show for our listeners. We're going to talk about what we're playing as we always start our episodes. We're going to do a couple, perhaps 3 game reviews, 2 official, 1 unofficial. We have some Elden Ring gameplay to discuss. They released like a 20-minute video within the last week. Mass Effect has a new teaser poster, so we can speculate in space. And Forza Horizon was just released, and it's getting like 100s out of 10. The feedback has been so positive for that. So we'll do all that. But let us start this episode as we start every episode with a what we are playing. Kamen, what are you playing?
Yes, Patrick. What am I playing? I am finally playing Animal Crossing's new DLC.
Round of applause.
Yeah, it's everything I imagined it would be. And that's both a good and a good and a negative. I think that on the positive side, I'm very excited about the fact that, we get Brewster gyroids. We now have our own miniature shopping center, so to speak. That's a lot of fun, and I'm glad that that's there. On the negative side, it does feel like, because of the fact that, these are new implementations, that they're almost going back to kind of how the game first began, where it is a very slow burn on the forefront. Mm-hmm. It takes time. You are only allowed to build one new building a day. And so for me, I chose Leaf to build his building. But you can only do it every, not 24 hours, but only once in a 24-hour cycle. You're allowed to build a new building. So that takes time. And I think that's the one problem is at this point in the game, people might not be as welcoming to that, which totally makes sense to me, because let's be honest, we went from having to go through that week period or the week or so period where you had to slowly but surely build your island up, having to now go back to doing the same thing again. It's a little tiresome, and I really hope that when I first got into it, I was going to be like dumping a lot of time like right off the bat. But the truth of the matter is, I knocked out pretty much all of the new content that you could do at that point in time on day one in about 45 minutes.
Yikes.
Yeah. And so now going back, it's just going to take some time to kind of get back in. Once everything's built up, then I'll have more of an impression to give, because I can get past some of that stuff. But as of right now, it's fun. I'm glad that there's new content. It's bringing me back in, but that waiting period is a little bit of a burden. And has kind of sucked a little bit of that enjoyment out for me.
Now that we're over a year removed from Animal Crossing, I think it's safe. I think no one's going to come at me with torches and pitchforks if I say the built-in waiting of Animal Crossing is horseshit.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's good. Like sometimes it's good to like force you to not just burn through everything in 5 seconds. But I feel like most of the time it's just a burden. Like it just makes the game less fun, and it makes me want to try to time travel, which you're not supposed to do. So
I totally agree. And it's something that, like, because we are so far in now and there's really no negatives to doing time travel, maybe that is the better option. I wanted to go in because I wanted to give the most honest assessment possible from the angle of a viewer or like a listener who's going to be doing it the normal way. I didn't do any time travel. I might now do some time travel just to help kind of speed along the process a little bit, because I've only had a couple of days so far in that waiting period. But like I said, it's taking time, and it's time that I don't personally want to put in because I have other stuff to do.
Yeah. A damn fine shame.
Yeah. Now, Patrick, what have you been playing?
So I today, November 9th, 2021, started Forza Horizon, and that we're going to talk about in just a second. It's getting tens from like everyone and their mother. It's incredible.
Sure.
Like I am not a racing guy. I'm not a, like, I love Burnout back in the day. I loved like those kinds of fast paced kind of action racing games.
Sure.
But I haven't played a racing game in a long time. And I honestly, I say it's amazing. I don't know how long I'll last. Like I could see myself getting a little bored of it at some point, but the graphics are so impressive on this game, and it runs so smoothly that it feels like I'm playing Burnout, even though I'm not playing Burnout, which I feel like when I first got my Xbox a few months ago, I downloaded Forza Horizon 4, which is the prequel in the story of the Forza Horizon series, which there is none. I mean, there kind of is, but not really. I played it for 10 minutes and I was like, I'm just not feeling it. And this one, like from the moment it started, I was like, oh, wow, this game, like with how pretty it is and how they do this thing that I think is really smart. Maybe this is like every Forza Horizon game or Forza game, and I just am out of the loop. But there's a system in place where until you're comfortable with the way the game moves and controls, there's this like arrow that's going in front of you that is color coded to help you learn braking accelerating, that kind of thing, so that you're not, because sometimes with these really simmy type racing games, they're not fun because they go so hard into the simming that it's just not fun. But this like little tweak where it kind of helps you with braking and drifting and that kind of thing makes it a much better experience. Like, it's a lot more fun of an experience. So I've only played it for, I don't know, an hour and a half, but I'm very impressed. I'm much more impressed than I thought I was going to be, for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I like, for me, I'm not a racing guy. I do really enjoy did enjoy the Burnout series while it existed, and then obviously things like Mario Kart and whatnot are great.
For
but
sure.
that racing sim, like the Gran Turismo games, or Horizon, sorry, not Horizon, Forza. It just never really did it for me. So that is I'm glad to hear that at least you're getting some enjoyment out of it, regardless of how long it lasts.
Yeah, I mean, and also too, like the downside here is, I'm sure it would not be the same if I was playing on last gen.
Sure.
And I'm sure it'd be even better if I was playing on Xbox Series X, but I only have a Series S. But so yeah, I mean, I was gonna say like you should try it out, but on the Xbox One, it might not actually be that great of an experience.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's probably worth a shot. And then there's another game I've been playing that leading into this podcast, as I mentioned in the intro, we're going to talk about, we're going to review Guardians of the Galaxy that I played. And walking out of that, just to jump ahead a second, I was like, wow, this game blew me away and could be in my short list for game of the year. I beat it on Sunday morning, and I was like, I have Sunday, I'm watching football, watching my fantasy football teams just get their faces kicked in.
I mean, we can't all be as lucky as I, who ran the cycle in my 3 leagues this week. So,
yeah, we can't all be. But I was like, I want to play a shorter experience. So I was looking on, I have this app, GG, which is kind of like Letterboxd for video games. And I make lists on there, like just kind of track what I've been playing and whatnot. And I was looking through games I wanted to play and Googling like how long to beat. And this game popped up that I've been wanting to play for a little bit, but I've just not tried. And it just recently hit Game Pass. And that game is The Forbidden City. Have you heard about this? Have you played this? Do you know anything about this game?
I've heard of it, but my knowledge on the topic is limited at best.
So it's about a 6-hour experience.
Okay.
It can be a little longer or shorter, depending on how you go through it. I'm sorry, it's The Forgotten City. I'm about to fucking rave about this game, and I got the title wrong. The Forgotten City. As I said it, I was pulling it up.
It's par for the course.
It's like, I think I might have actually said the wrong title. The Forgotten City. It's on Switch. It's on Game Pass. It's on like everything. The origins of this game I find so fascinating. It was originally a Skyrim mod that I guess was like the #1 mod for years. This dude just made this game based, like a full game within Skyrim. The game plays like a Skyrim side mission. There's no combat. Well, actually there's some combat. But it's like when you play it, it really looks like you're playing Skyrim, but in 2021. Because this guy, I was reading about him, his story is fascinating. He makes this mod, does really successfully, and then he's a lawyer. He quits his day job and starts a game studio to make The Forgotten City into a full-blown game. Wow. And that's what he's been doing for the last several years with like some friends. And
that's incredible.
It blew my face off. It is honestly maybe my game of the year. Like it's between that and Deathloop and Guardians right now, to spoil a little bit about Guardians. I was completely blown away by this game. I could not stop. I played it for several hours on Sunday, and then I finished it last night. There's 4 endings. I got all 4 endings. I could not put this game down. The premise, I won't say too much about it because the reason I didn't want to make this a full review, because I don't want to go too deeply into the story, because I think some of the things that it does best is its reveals of what's happening. So I don't want to spoil anything, but I will at least tell you the premise. The premise is You play as your character, and you come across, you like wash up on a river, and this person finds you, and you like don't really have a memory of like who you are, where you are, whatever, other than like there's like one of four things you can choose as to, I'm an archaeologist, or I'm a whatever, and it gives you like some perks with your dialogue later. And you come to this city, and it's like, I don't know what year it would be, but it's like you're in ancient Greece, basically, or ancient Rome.
Sure.
And there is a rule in this city that they call the Golden Rule, where if anyone sins, everyone dies. So like the basically everyone's going to be punished if anyone does anything wrong. So the idea is that it'll be like a paradise, because no one's going to do anything wrong. They're not going to steal from people. They're not going to lie to people. They're not going to bribe. They're not going to murder, whatever. Because if they do that, everyone dies. So you're tasked with figuring out why this is happening, like who's causing this to happening. How do we stop it? How do we, all of the things in between. And the way you do that is you are stuck in a time loop. So it has that like time loop, which is funny. Don't get me wrong.
It seems like a time loop is becoming a hot button topic for every form of media right now.
For sure. And I will say, to the Forgotten City's credit, since this was a Skyrim mod like 10 years ago or whatever, he maybe he is the one that started the trend, but
fair.
For real, I cannot recommend this game enough. I don't want to say too much, but the voice acting is great. The storytelling is great. It takes you like through twists and turns, and it gives the player a lot of agency about how, having opinions on what's happening, and it's really, really great. I highly recommend it. So that's what I've been playing. Other than
I
Horizon,
just looked it up, and it is available for pretty much every console right now. So you can get it as well on PlayStation if you would so like, which I think after hearing your glowing review, that definitely is going to be up on the list of games for me to play in the future.
For sure. Yeah. The one thing I will mention, it's on Switch. It would probably run well on Switch because it's very dialogue heavy. It's it's like Skyrim. There are definitely there's a jankiness to it, kind of like Skyrim. It's not the prettiest game I've ever played. It's not going to blow you away in that aspect. But if anything that I said interests you, at the very least, go watch like a playthrough of it. But really, really good shit.
Awesome. Yeah, that definitely sounds fantastic. I think the only time I've ever been stuck in a time loop myself was I once ate so eloquently called a wizard finger. It's a hot dog that you get at a gas station or a convenience store that's been it's basically been roasted for too long. You shouldn't eat it. It's technically edible, but you shouldn't eat it because the time loop that it brings you into is you just sitting on the toilet repeatedly throughout the day and never leaving, like Groundhog's Day, but for gas station bathrooms.
Yeah, that sounds like a time loop I don't want any part of, Kamen.
Maybe not. Right. So moving on and moving forward, we're going to talk a little bit about Forza Horizon. Like you mentioned earlier, they've been getting some stellar reviews. So we just kind of want to run through a couple of these real quickly. The first comes from Justin Towell from Rock Paper Shotgun. He says, quote, while Burnout Paradise Remastered still offers more involved gameplay on a second-to-second basis, while still offering a similarly gleeful atmosphere, there isn't another open-world racing game so exquisitely polished as this. If you've played a Forza Horizon game before, then you might feel a sense of deja vu, but you won't care as the formula has been perfected at last. The best sound and visuals, the most variety of gameplay, the best editors, superb car handling, it's sheer class. And so big. Yes, it really is the best modern open world driving game. So get it. And then coming from Luke Riley over at IGN, who gave it a perfect 10 out of 10, he says, quote, Forza Horizon 5 is a deep and nuanced car nirvana for rev heads and auto geeks to endlessly collect, tinker, and experiment. It's also an extremely accessible buffet of racing spectacle open to everyone, from deluxe edition diehards to Game Pass nomads. No matter their driving skill or mechanical knowledge, it's an occasionally goofy but always earnest Valentine to Mexico's world-famous culture and a romantic ode to the magic of road tripping through postcard-perfect vacation vistas. It's a long-haul, MMO-inspired racer that's exploding with more races, activities, and event types that can comfortably fit on some parts of the map, and yet it still always feels relaxed rather than daunting. It never locks you into something you don't want to do and steadily rewards you for however you choose to play it. It looks beautiful, it sounds magnificent, and it is glorious to play. Yes, Forza Horizon 5 is a lot of things. Above all, however, it is the result of a racing studio at the peak of its craft and the best open world racing game I've ever played.
That Patrick, Luke Riley has a way with words.
He does,
I mean, I only being an hour, maybe 90 minutes in tops, and being a Game Pass nomad, as Luke Riley mentions, I see why it's getting 10s just from the very limited bit that I played. Not being really big on the racers, as we've discussed, I think there will be too much here for me with the tinkering and that kind of thing. I am more so just interested in cargo fast, it be pretty. That's more so what I'm interested in. But I also really love the line from Justin's review. It's sheer class and so big.
How big is it? So you're an hour in. How much of the open world have you experienced, or is it blocking you off any, like a lot of open worlds tend to do that. They like to kind of let you get your feet wet and then open up. Does it do that, or does it just hand you the keys and say, here's an open world to go explore at your leisure?
Hand me the keys, Kamen.
Yeah. Pun definitely intended.
The pun was absolutely positively intended. I don't really have an answer for you. I didn't try like going too far in the map or whatever, but I can tell you in the little bit of the map that I do have so far, once you get through the little tutorial section, there's already like 30 things that I can do. And it does the thing that the only reference point I have for this, which might show my age of games of racing games, is it controls a little bit like Need for Speed Underground, where you drive in between missions to like go to the mission you want to do.
Right on.
Which is cool. But sometimes I'm like, can I just like pick a race and just do that now? Like, do I really need to drive 800 meters or whatever, 800 miles, not miles, to go just turn around and do this race? But yeah, everything that I said before and everything that these two gentlemen said, super beautiful, silky smooth. I dig it.
Well, you heard it here third.
You heard it here third, folks.
Patrick digs it. I don't think personally for me it's a game that even though it's getting rave reviews, I feel like I'm more inclined to play something like Deathloop, even though that game still doesn't sound like it's something for me. However, a racing game definitely is not something that piques my interest too much.
How's this for you, Kamen? In this new scale I'm making right now, and I've only played it for 90 minutes. I gave it 4 out of 5 shovels. I dig it.
I hate it.
Great. I'm making graphics. When I learn how to make graphics, I'm doing it all.
But I absolutely abhor what you just said, but I will support all of the decisions you make in your life.
Grab your shovels and let's get to digging. I want to hear, I've been talking a lot. I've been waxing poetic, as some might say, Kamen. Sure. I want to hear your thoughts, transition, on Tales of Arise. Give us your beefy review.
Well, you are 90 minutes into Forza Horizon 5. I am 55 hours into Tales of Arise. It is a sight to behold. What Tales of Arise does so much better than a lot of RPGs or JRPGs in particular that you might come across is that from the time you start the game to 55 hours later, you feel like you've grown so much with the characters, so that when you go back to some of the original locations, which in the end game, it makes you go back. There's a lot of side quests that don't pop up until after you beat the main story, which I have. And so it makes you go back. But when you go back and you're interacting with some of these characters that you haven't seen in 40 to 50 hours, and you're like, yeah, I've just done so much. Like, the game starts you off as like it's a simple story that you think it's a simple story, where it tells you like, hey, here you're a slave and you're joining a revolution to overthrow the lord of the region you live in. From there, it takes you and it says, okay, well, instead of you just finding freedom for yourself, you're going to free the rest of the world from the rulers that have taken over.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden it goes from this very simple slave revolts to, you are now going to have to save the world, and not just save the world from like your captors. You're saving the world from oblivion, which is a very JRPG thing. And
yes,
it's, and obviously trying to be light on spoilers. You kill God. So that's
like capital G God, supposed
yeah.
God.
Hell yeah, kill God.
You
do that. You did that quite often in JRPGs. Surprisingly enough, God gets killed a lot. But yeah, no, it's just it's such the story is so fucking good, and it keeps you enthralled throughout the like I said, 55 hours. I haven't even finished the end game yet. I probably have another. I would say if I am correct on my estimation on how things are progressing, I would say probably another 5 to 6 hours of story, and then probably another 10 hours, give or take, of getting platinum. And this is one of those rare JRPGs where I feel like getting a platinum is going to be something I do.
Yeah.
It's warranting that. There was a little bit of a scare that I did have where I thought a trophy glitched, and it immediately spoiled the entire game for me. And then I found out that I was just an idiot. And no, I wasn't glitched. And so now I'm back on train again. But yeah, I mean, the story, the progressions, the combat feels so good. They even give you like an activity recorder where it shows you like how much you've done of certain things. And I want to say I've been in like 725 battles, and every battle I get into, it still feels good. Like, I'm not bored. I don't feel like I'm wasting time, or it's a huge game with so many great story moments. I will say, like, the 35 hour mark, it did drop a second anime cutscene with a brand new anime song. And then at any point, they could have just been like, okay, yeah, look, you're 30 hours in. So this is the end of Tales of Arise, and you're going to get a sequel, Tales of Arise Part 2 or whatever will be the remainder of the game. That would be normal. That would be how a normal studio does it.
Yeah.
Not this one. No, you're getting your money's worth. Your $60 is well spent in this game if you get it. Man, it's tough. I could sour on it depending on how the end game goes, because I have a feel like there's going to be another story beat that's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's always a toss up in games like this. So there's a chance I might not be as big on the story. However, I can say as of right now, I'm 100% in on it. I am very much looking forward to getting the platinum, and it is neck and neck with It Takes Two as my game of the year. I still think It Takes Two has the edge on it, just because I think that game is just it's like a 1 in a million game. You just don't see it, and I think that's why it might have it. But I will say that this one is a really damn good game, and something that I think if you've never played an RPG before, or you're on the fence of putting in 50 hours plus, and I totally understand if you are, because that is a lot of time to sink into something. It is an investment. I do say that if you are looking for something big and expansive, something that you want to put that time into, and you've never played a JRPG or an RPG, this is a really good place to start, because it's very friendly, it's very accessible, and it's just a pleasure to play.
I have 3 questions for you.
Hit me.
I'm very pleased with your report. My first question is, you spoke a little bit last week about the way the gameplay works. You said it's a lot like Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's like a kind of half and half between an action RPG and a turn-based RPG.
Yes.
At any point,
so it is.
At any point, did you feel like you preferred it to lean in more one or the other instead of kind of straddling that line? Or do you think the way they kind of meshed those two together was a good thing, and like you're glad that that's the choice they made?
I think it's a great question, and I honestly think that they nailed that blend.
Hell yeah.
You do get option. You have 6 total characters you can play as at any given point. You can play as any of them in combat. They all play very distinct and differently. And so if you do feel like you are getting a little bit, like, as you're playing through and you're like, man, I think I'm just getting a little bit dull, or this is getting a little stale for me, you can switch up and play as different characters. But the NPCs themselves in your party, like, the AI is so smart. So a lot of RPGs, especially ones that are action based, you'll see them like just burning through resources all the time, or be doing stupid things to get themselves killed, or they're not doing enough damage. The way that this works is they've really fine-tuned that so that you never feel like at any point are they going one way or the other. And on top of that, which I think works really well in its favor, is that you do have the option to be able to switch out how the party works. So you can make them more reserved, you can make them more aggressive, you can have them playing offense or defense. You can you can customize it really well to fit your play style. For me, I played majority of the game as Alphen, the main character, just because his play style felt a lot better for me. It's way more action focused, but you can play as someone like Dohulmim or Shion, some of the side characters who cast spells, or they call them arts. And so it's way more like you're playing way farther out. You're not as close into the combat, and you're just, casting spell after spell, dropping certain things, running around the map because you have lower HP. So you can switch it up. And the game really does like help you do that. They also give you training grounds where you can play solo battles just as those characters. You get rewards from it. So doing the platinum run, which I am, like, I'm having to play as those characters doing that stuff. And some of the characters feel better than others. So there is that. But you're never shoehorned into having to play as one. So like, you're not stuck. Like, you don't have to play as one and be like, man, this really sucks. This character is awful. I have to play for him for 15 hours. Like, no,
right.
You can choose that.
The reason I was asking, when I maybe played 5 or 6 hours of Final Fantasy VII Remake last year. I need to go back to it. I spent $60 on it and I barely played it. The combat just wasn't that fun to me. Like, I wanted it to be more turn-based. But it sounds like with Tales, the way they do it sounds a lot more. It kind of straddles it a little more than how Final Fantasy did. With Final Fantasy, it was a lot more action-y.
This feels a lot like...
not to say I don't like action RPGs. I wish it had been more toward the turn-based.
This feels more like a Ni no Kuni, where you have control of your characters. You are free-flowing, but there are moments, like, you do have cooldowns on special moves that you can do, and there's combo moves you can do as well that are like these huge, really cool, like really fancy looking moves where you'll join in with a character and create like a cyclone of like fire and ice and like blow up a character, like an enemy. And so doing those intermediately through battles keeps it feeling really fun. But I don't think I would say don't worry about that as much. Obviously, take that in consideration. If you weren't big on Final Fantasy VII's remaster, then maybe not. But I do think because this is way more fantasy, it feels more. It feels more in place.
Cool.
You have a couple more questions for me, Pat?
I do. So my second question, and I mean, this one you I think I know the answer based on what you've been saying. Sure. So we don't have to go too long on this one, but would you say one of the strong points of this game is its story, or is it kind of the whole thing as a whole that makes it as good as it is?
The story is what's going to drive you. The combat's The story is what's going to drive you to finish the game. The combat is just the icing on the cake.
Cool. Okay. The reason I ask, sometimes we know the spectrum of the stories of a JRPG. There's your Persona 4 Goldens, and then there's your I can't think of a really bad example.
Wild Arms.
There's your Wild Arms. Sure, I've not played it, but like the super convoluted story.
Yeah.
A lot of people swear by it, but it just like goes over your head a little bit.
This one, the story is laid out so well because there's so many of these little skits that take place that really build upon and expound upon the characters, the relationships of the characters, and world building. Cool. So you're always getting a little bit of a story as you go along, and there's a lot of story. But it's never, at no point does it ever feel like that it's so convoluted or so complicated that it's going over your head. It feels good. Like cool. The story beats work, and they work well.
I dig it. My third and final question for you. 1 to 5, how many shovels are you giving Tales of Arise?
I'm going to give it a 4.5 golden shovels.
Okay, they're golden.
I will say I think the points I would take off, like the cons to it, I would say is that some of the side quests feel a bit samey, and they're just there as fluff, so to speak. There's no real, there's also a couple points in the game where it gets a little bit cheesy, and you have some kind of Dragon Ball Z moments where things happen and they happen kind of inexplicably, and you just kind of have to roll with the punches on that. I don't think it's I don't think it's a perfect game, but I think it does everything so well that it's close.
Cool. I love that. Well, fantastic. I can't wait for you to finish it so you can give it to me so that I can play it. And when we make that exchange, I can give you Guardians of the Galaxy, which is what I have come to do a full proper review on.
Hit me with it.
So this game is incredible. The reviews, I would even say some of the review, I mean, a review is an opinion. I'm surprised it's not getting better scores. I don't think it should get 10s, but
sure,
it's really good. Like, I think the best part about this game to me is that they nail feeling like you are in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Similarly to how Insomniac nails feeling like you're Spider-Man.
That's awesome.
Like, you obviously, as I mentioned last week, you only play as Peter, but you can control the other 4 or however many of them are with you in a battle. And the way you control them, you use the left bumper L1 and you hold it, and then you choose, like, each of them represent a button on the face of the controller. So like if memory serves, Gamora was triangle and Rocket was X, I think. And then as you progress through the game and unlock things throughout the game, unlock experience to spend, when you choose on that character, you can eventually get 4 powers for each of them. So, and then Peter has his own 4 powers. So by the end of the game, you have 20 powers to choose from at any given time while you're fighting enemies. And as you get deeper in the game, you start to have this, like, it just clicks. Like, based on the kind of combat you're in or the kind of encounter you're in, whether you need to do like a move where Groot like holds them down so that Drax can run through them all and knock them out, or so that Rocket can get like this like giant bazooka thing and just blast them away, or so that Gamora can get the one that's the strongest and just kind of beat the shit out of that one. And you start to learn like how these moves work and how they work together as a team. And then they also do the thing like in Marvel Ultimate Alliance where you can like combine moves as well. They don't have it. It's not as like thick of a system as Marvel Ultimate Alliance did. This one is more so just kind of like by happenstance. Like if you happen to be fighting someone next to Drax, you two might like double team him kind of thing. But more so than that, the narrative is just really, really good. Like it tells a story that, you know, people who read Guardians, I'm sure know all the main Guardian stories. This story follows like Adam Warlock and that like, what are they called?
Spoilers, Patrick.
Well, I think that's in the whole, like the trailers, is it not?
I mean, I haven't seen it, so this is news to me. And apparently, and I'm assuming news to our audience as well.
Well, spoilers. I'll be more conscientious about what I say. But it's really, really good. And it tells a story that I think ultimately I like this Guardians more than the MCU Guardians.
Wow. That's
like,
that's incredible.
I like the MCU Guardians a lot. And I know for a lot of people that the Guardians movies are like in their top 5 or one of them is.
Yeah.
I'm not that big on MCU Guardians. Like I like them a lot, but they're not the top of MCU for me. But this game is really, really good. There are things that I can nitpick though.
Okay.
I would say the biggest detractor from this game, which is a good thing because it only happens 2 or 3 times throughout the game, they shoehorn space combat into this game to where you're controlling the Milano and you're up in space. It feels like you're kind of playing like a Star Wars game. I've never loved that type of gameplay.
Sure.
The like dog fighting. So if you like that, I'm sure you'll have a blast with this. I just don't personally. So that I didn't love that. And also it does this weird thing that makes it feel like a game from last gen or 2 gens ago, which I mean, this game is on PS4, but the amount of hallways that you shimmy through, it's like one every 4 minutes. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but the amount of shimmying and like crawling that you do, like think of like Tomb Raider 2013.
So I need to interject there because there is actually some reasoning behind it.
Okay.
In those moments where you do shimmy or you crawl through an area, that's actually a hidden load screen.
See, so I assumed, but like, can we not figure out a different solution?
I mean, I have a feeling that we're going to see less of it with the newer consoles just because they're more powerful, that you won't need it. And look, like, I mean, that's an issue with Tales where anytime you exit an area and go into another area, you have like a 15-second like loading screen, which is a very small nitpick, but it's also something like, look, guys, like Ghost of Tsushima is a massive open world, and those load screens are like 2 seconds. They've even extended the load screens so that you can actually read stuff.
Right, and that's on last gen hardware, so like it can be done. It just like when you play this game, you are going to be shocked at the amount of shimmying you do in this game. Like I really cannot stress enough how often you do it. Like in games like God of War or Tomb Raider, it happened like every now and then, and it was obvious that it was for a loading screen. But this, like, it's like every other thing you do, you're shimmying.
When they do shimmy through things, do you audibly say out loud? Do you say shimmy shimmy yeah, shimmy yay? If you don't, then that might make it a lot easier for you to stomach it.
I will say, full transparency, I never did that once, and it might have made it better if I did.
I mean, maybe.
I will say though, I think, I mean, to your point, they do the shimmying for the loading, and this game is gorgeous.
Yeah, like it looks from the videos I've seen, it looks incredible.
It's so pretty. Like the environments you're in, they're super detailed. They're not like The Last of Us detailed, but a lot of like vibrant pinks and purples and you know, that kind of Guardians palette, I guess.
Sure.
So I understand why they have to load so much, because there's the game is so pretty. It just, after a while I was like, really? And with that too, This one, I'm a little mixed on whether or not it's a con. Depending on, it's like 6 in one, half a dozen in the other kind of thing. This game, because of the amount of shimmying, there is, I would say, like, there's 16 chapters. So within those chapters, just for the sake of conversation, there's 16 levels. It doesn't quite add up to that, but every single level, I would say 50% or more is just like walking from point A to point B for an action set piece to happen, which is fine. And within those walking sections is where a lot of the narrative happens. But as I was 15 hours in, approaching the end of the game, I've shimmied through fucking my 900th little grate. Or
okay, okay.
Go ahead.
First question.
Yeah.
Which would you rather have?
Okay.
A wizard finger or having to shimmy more in a game?
A wizard finger. What do you mean exactly by
those
that?
overly roasted gas station hot dogs?
Oh, right. I forgot. I would rather shimmy.
Okay, then I think you should shut up.
Okay, we can move on. I
see what you. So, what you're saying is most of the narrative itself, at least in levels, is going to be during that. Is it like, do they like make it where? I mean, I guess it's better that way, though, right? Like, you're getting the story moments while still actually doing something instead of just sitting the controller down and letting, cutscenes play out, right?
I would say yes, but maybe not every single time.
Okay.
Like there could have been some dialogue that they pulled back on, perhaps. That, like, I will say also, this game is really funny. And a lot of the humor comes in this like walking narrative where you're walking from point A to point B. So that ultimately, I guess, is a positive because it's creating more enjoyment from the game. It just, toward the end of it, I just felt like, and maybe ultimately it's a pacing issue. It's not even the shimming that's the problem. It's just like toward the end of the game, I felt like the pacing kind of dropped off a little bit. Maybe that's the real issue here. And then my other one kind of gripe with the game is its collectible game is not great. Like, there are 3 types of collectibles, 4 types of collectibles, but 2 of them aren't really collectibles. 2 of them are like materials that you then use to power up your team, which I would have preferred if the power-ups came from combat and not from that, because a lot of the time when you're in this environment, like the dialogue is ended and you're just kind of running around in silence, a lot of the time you're doing that, you're just looking for these like materials, and that's not as fun as finding like a collectible or a costume. So the other 2 kinds of collectibles is costumes for each of your characters and yourself. And then the final one is, it's these little like, it's like a thing that opens up. It's like a projected screen that's like an email, or that you see it so often in games. And those, just none of those ever interested me. Typically, a lot of the time, I am the kind of person who will read through those, because a lot of the times, especially in a game like The Last of Us, there's really cool narrative hidden in those things. I just didn't get that with Guardians. They all felt forgettable. To the point where I started skipping them, and maybe I ended up skipping the good ones. I don't know. But the amount of times that you actually come across collectibles versus those like materials, it's like 80% materials, 20% collectibles. And maybe that was just me being bad at finding them. But by the end of the game, I had found probably half of the costumes, and none of them really were cool either. Like, they were fine, but I kept wanting to find costumes that I really wanted to use. Like, well, let me edit that a little bit. They were cool, but I don't want to use them in, like, especially if I'm in a serious moment. Like, there's this one set of costumes, slight spoilers if you care, where for each of them you can get like a 4 horsemen of the apocalypse type thing, where they're like, it's like this black and red, like, it looks really cool, but like, I don't want to be in the middle of a cutscene and everyone looks like they're flaming like dead horsemen of the apocalypse.
See, there's a similar situation in Tales that's like that, where you can collect one of the collectibles is owls, and owls will give you like an accessory that you can wear. And so it's really funny because like some of them are really, really funny. Like you can get like silly glasses or like glasses that make you look really angry. And I put them on one of the characters, and then like this really important cutscene happened, and they walked up and they had like fucking squirrely eyes, and I was like, this just kind of ruined it for me. So I totally understand where you're coming from on that one. That's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah. But ultimately, highly recommend this game if you were on the fence about it, or even if like you weren't really considering it, but you like Guardians, or you like, I mean, if you remove the Guardians from it, just tells a really great story too, and it has a lot of great performances in it. So highly recommend it. If you're a personal friend of mine and have a PlayStation 5, once Kamen is done borrowing it, you could borrow it if you'd like. But yeah, ultimately, I would give this
How many shovels?
I would give this 4.5 sparkly shovels.
Sparkly shovels. Okay.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So ultimately, I dig this game.
Any particular reason why they're sparkly and not golden?
So I feel like as we go through, there will be a little bit of a game with the different colors of shovels and the different textures of shovels we can do if this bit survives.
What I'm hearing is that with like Forza, they would be like 4 racing stripe shovels.
Yeah, there'd be racing stripes. There'd be like a decal that says like, "Ooh, bite my dust, eat my dust."
You know what, Patrick? I give you 5 beefy boy shovels out of 5.
Hell yeah. But yeah, the sparkles, I would say, represent a piece of the game that I won't spoil.
Okay. I like that. I like that. There's a lot of questions I've got, and I can't wait to play it. Moving on, From Software has showed off new Elden Ring gameplay, and it looks exactly how you would expect it to look.
It does, and it doesn't. And what I mean by it doesn't, maybe saying it doesn't is unfair. I'm very pleased that the little bit of this I saw, I didn't watch the full 20 minutes. But the little bit that I saw, it really looks like they're adding in elements of Sekiro. They're adding in elements of Demons, Souls, Dark Souls. Like it really feels like an amalgamation of all of them, which I think is a very strong choice, that they're not just trying to do this new thing, that they're kind of combining all of them together to create a new thing that way. I think that's exciting for me.
Yeah, I think and look, I'll probably get chastised for this, but I've never particularly thought, at least the Dark Souls games, I never really thought that they were that attractive looking. The vistas are beautiful, but like the character models aren't. They're very rough looking, and it's not a very attractive game.
I think this one is partially, if I can interrupt you just for a brief second, I think that's partially because of the hardware, probably.
That could be.
But I strongly agree that they are ugly games.
I mean, this one looks like it looks beautiful. Like the worlds look great. It just from seeing the gameplay, though, I mean, outside of the traversal, and it appears as it's going to be more of an open world scenario instead of a kind of piecemeal where you're going to enter into new regions like their previous games. It outside of that, though, it still looks like it's going to play exactly like Sekiro or Bloodborne or Dark Souls, which, I mean, that's their game. I guess for me, I was hoping it would be a little bit more unique combat, at least. And it doesn't appear so. If anything, like I hope that there's going to be more story there. Because the other games are very all the story bits. It's all reading material. You're reading weapons. You're reading rings, accessories. You're reading pieces of paper. That's where you're getting the bulk of the story. I hope this one, because it's got George R.R. Martin on it, I hope that this is like their first time actually telling like a coherent, well fleshed out story. That would be nice.
I hope that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it looks exactly like I kind of imagined it was going to, and there look no harm in that though. So
for sure. I mean, I will say, to your last point, I will be shocked if this isn't their most narrative focused game that they've done, because you didn't play Sekiro, did you?
I didn't.
I only played like 2 hours of it because it was just like way too hard for me. Like I couldn't figure out the system. This one, more than any of the other games, really required you to master its parrying system, and I just couldn't get the timing right. So I was like, I gotta bounce. I borrowed this game, so I don't have to force myself to keep playing it. But that game, the little bit that I did play, was very narrative heavy.
Oh wow.
So
okay.
maybe that doesn't continue throughout the whole thing, since I never finished it. But they're trending toward, when you look at Demon Souls as their first game to Sekiro being their most recent, they're getting more narratively focused. And then, to your point, bringing on Railroad Martin himself, I'm sure this will be, they're going to tell a story. And that is the most exciting part for me.
This is just a quick sidebar. I found this out last night. Now that you've said Railroad Martin, did you know in Japan, Ronald McDonald's name is Donald McDonald?
I didn't, but that's awesome.
Yeah. So, okay.
I'm hopefully going to Japan in 2022 to make up for our canceled trip in 2020 because of ye old COVID. So I will find Donald McDonald if I do go and take that bastard down.
Give him a high five and a kick in the nuts.
I'll give him a spanking on his bare butt, balls, and back. That's what I'll do.
The Boston 1-2, poke in the eye, and then you spit in their face.
Anything else you want to say on Elden Ring, Kamen?
No, that's all I got.
Well, then why don't we move on to something that I am very excited about, which
Tell me, Patrick.
On Sunday, I believe it was some of these games that have like big lore, big lore, they'll have holidays or days on the calendar that they do specific things. Last of Us has what used to be called Outbreak Day, now is called The Last of Us Day. Mass Effect has N7 Day, which
gotta love N7 Day.
I forget why, even though I just replayed 1 and 2. Is this supposed to be when we found the Mass Effect relay on Earth? Maybe.
I want to say it's Normandy 7.
November 7. Duh. I'm a fool. I give myself 0 shovels out of 5. The assumption kind of made sense though. Like it could have.
Yeah. It was pretty good. Yeah.
But we got on the 7th, 2 days ago, as of recording, a teaser poster that says Mass Effect will continue. I'm gonna try, Kamen, sharing the screen for our massive YouTube fan base. So you can see, if you're watching it on YouTube, you can see our little faces to the left there and this teaser poster. So let's talk about this teaser poster, Kamen.
Yeah.
This I think is awesome. Like it looks really cool. Obviously there's it looks like a Geth. It looks like Legion or any of the other Geth, perhaps.
There's definitely a Krogan. You can tell there's
definitely a Krogan. Yeah, I'm gonna zoom in. It's probably gonna look like dog shit on this because
fair enough.
Reasons, but
for the listeners, the poster itself is it looks like a crash landing of a spaceship, and you can see like very small characters from an above shot, like you're looking down, like isometrically. Yeah. And then it looks like a crater has formed, where inside of the crater, that is a mystery goo. There's
definitely a goo happening.
It's very interesting, and I think that's the kicker is we can pinpoint the different things there, right? We can say, okay, well, we see a Krogan, we think we see a Geth, we can see characters from the series, but what is the goo?
Is this like a planetary oil? Is this is this the oil that like the Geth use to be machines? Like, is that their Geth blood? Also, a cool little nod. You can see like left and right of the goo pit is the what would be like the what do you call it? JJ Abrams does it all the time. The when the light reflects and it has that line of light, it kind of looks like that line of light that Geth often have in the game, which is a fun little Easter egg. It's like cracks in the earth, or I mean not earth, in the ground. But yeah, an interesting thing too, you'll notice this is 4 people coming out of the ship instead of 3. Mass Effect, you always have a party of 3. So perhaps in this game, we're going to get to have one more person come with us. Perhaps, who knows? And then also too, on the ship, obviously this is no longer the Normandy. It's no longer N7, which, as we just learned together, is the etymology of N7 Day. This says SFX. Not really a day you can make a play on words there, but perhaps this is the new ship that we have as a crew. But yeah, I'm jacked. I'm hyped. I'm ready.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree in the slightest. I am beyond excited. I think this is like a perfect teaser poster because it offers up a little bit of an insight.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also leaves a ton of questions unanswered. And that just, for me, it builds that hype that I have currently for the new Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Do you have any expectations or predictions, so to speak, as to when you think it might release?
Oh man, when I think it might release, I think earliest Q1 2024.
Yeah.
Maybe Q4 2023. But I mean, they have been working on this for a while, but they only officially announced it, I think it was last year on N7 Day.
No, they announced it. They did a teaser trailer at the last Game Awards, which are coming up.
It was. Right. Which so a little less than a year ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like unless it's a much smaller experience, which I'm sure it will not be, I'm sure it will be even bigger than any game we've had before. I don't expect to see this for a while. I do have a prediction. Put it in the bank. Okay. Write this down. Save it for another day. I think you will have the choice to not play as a human in this game. I think they will give you, like, if you want to be the Krogan, you get to be the Krogan, or if you want to be the Asari, you get to be the Asari, or whatever. Maybe there'll be a whole new race. Who's to say? Do you have any prediction?
I think that you are on the right track. I think that that's definitely something that we are going to get the option to. I mean, we've seen with the Dragon Age games that they allow you to play as different species. I think that that's definitely something that's going to come. Yeah. I do think you are also correct that we won't see this until 2024. I guess the question is for me is which one is going to come first, the new Dragon Age game or Mass Effect? Because depending on when the new Dragon Age game releases, I would only assume that Mass Effect's probably at the earliest 2 years out from that.
100% Dragon Age will come out first.
Okay.
Because they've already like teased so much of that game. Like we've gotten multiple trailers. That game was announced several years ago. But I don't know, and they might have talked about this at some point. I would be willing to bet BioWare has like multiple teams with how big they are now. Sure. So there's probably a team hard at work on Mass Effect, and there's a team hard at work, and I'm sure that it's a team of like hundreds of people, probably. Yeah. But it's probably all steam ahead on Dragon Age, and once that's done, let's move everyone to Mass Effect. Yeah. Other than the people that are working on the new IP that they're gonna do in a decade or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, sweet. I think it can't come soon enough, at least for me.
Yeah, I agree. Well, according to the document in which we share to do this show together, Kamen,
I think it is time.
We've reached our conclusion. I think we've put our hearts and souls into it. We've put, at this point, 18 multicolored shovels are in the ground. Plus 18 plus, maybe
they're all
20.
digging my grave.
I'm going to be, if you keep it up with that attitude, sir, young man. So with that, why don't we ask our sweet listeners to follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, email us, follow us on YouTube.
Wherever that is.
From I don't know that there's from the top down, at Kid Kamen is Kamen on Twitter, at Patrick Schwag is me, at Spot Games Pod will be the podcast itself, at Spotlight Games Pod, that's all on Twitter, at Spot Games Podcast will be our Instagram, and then as always, mail at spotlightgames.net is our email address. And then on either of those social medias, the link tree will take you to the YouTube, or you can just search Spotlight Games on YouTube, and hopefully we show up. Hopefully those hooligans at YouTube are just giving us all the views, right?
Indeed.
Indeedy.
Put us in the algorithm, baby.
Put us in that algae rhythm. All right. Well, I am going to give you back your day, your evening, your morning. But I want you to walk away with this. You, Kamen, and you, the listener. It might not be a sunny day today. It might be. I'm not the weatherman. But just know that from us at Spotlight Games Podcast, we want to bring a little light into your day, a little sunlight directly from our soul right into your mouth. That just, oh God,
that came out really well. I think actually, I think that was probably the sexiest thing that you could have said at the end of this episode.
The authorities are on their way to lock me up for talking about everyone's mouths. So until we meet again, I bid you a fond farewell and nothing but love.
Love you guys.
Bye.